some very important conversations about women, particularly the girl child on the continent. When we talk about the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, Goal 5 will be gender equality. And of course, one of the ways in which this can be achieved would be education for the girl child. All African children should be given one fundamental human right, which is education. However, we cannot deny that there is a bias to the female gender when it comes to education. Amongst the key factors affecting the girl child, education, particularly in the north in Nigeria, are poverty, illiteracy, teenage and underage marriage, to mention a few. According to Malala Fund, an education blog, Nigeria accounts for 45% of all out-of-school children in West Africa, with over 13.5 million children out of school. Our guest this morning is fondly called the Illuminator. She's a personal transformational strategist, the innovator of the world's first ever girl child letter mug, the GCLmug, an irresistible letter mug in 7 languages. Thank you very much for joining us, AINA YEJIDE. Good morning. Good to have you.
Good morning, Olive. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I hope you're well as well.
I'm very well, thank you.
The girl child letter mug is fascinating, the idea of it. Tell us about it. What prompted it? And I'm seeing that it's written in several languages.
Thank you for that question, and thank you for having me here, by the way.
Welcome.
The girl child letter mug, it's a letter that is written to all girls across the world, from my heart, from a place of passion and love, telling them that they are loved, telling them that they are worthy, telling them that they are valuable and they are enough. And recently the world has gone through unprecedented challenges, talking about the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of people lost loved ones. A lot of people have lost their means of livelihood. So many people are in desperation. And I sat down and I have to do something to for the girl child. And that's how I wrote the letter, telling them that they're amazing, incredibly amazing. They're actually amazing more than they give themselves credit for, or the society even give them credit for, and that they will never be left behind, especially the girls that have no mentor, the girls that have no coach, they have no one to turn to. So when you have or hold that letter mug, you actually feel the love. Reading it, you feel the love, you feel the passion. Somebody talking to you on a one-on-one and encouraging you that don't despair, your life will still shine brightly like diamonds in the sky. All that is literally written on a mug.
Wow.
Yes, and each piece is beautiful, it's colorful. And the reason for that is because for girls, they're very colorful. Women love beautiful things, and I intentionally made it to be captivating. You see it and you love it, and like, what is this? And having it on the mug, the idea of having it on the mug is because you want to be reading it every time. You can imagine drinking from that kind of mug every morning.
Absolutely. I remember sometime last year, I think it was February last year, someone sent me a mug as part of gifts during the Valentine's season, and on the mug it was written "Hello Gorgeous," and that immediately became my favorite mug, because every time I'll be like, oh yes, I'm gorgeous. Yeah. I'm drinking from the mug. So that's a great reminder.
That's the idea, to have someone tell you that you are loved, you are worthy every time. And then what that does to you is that it elevates your thinking. Right. Instead of being the society and everything around you just dampens your spirit every time. But when you have something that constantly elevates your thinking, it's worth having around you.
When I hear things like this now, for people who do inspirational work like you're doing, a lot of the time what we hear is that it's born from a place of personal experience. So some would tell you that, when I was growing up, I had these challenges. I wish someone did this for me as well, so I want to do that for other people. Would you say that that's a case that's peculiar to you as well?
That's also part of it. That's part of it. When I was growing up, thank God for my parents, thank God for my place of work, thank God for my friends, thank God for my environment, But, I wouldn't say I grew up with the 1%, where my parents were average. But as I grew up in life, along my journey, I began to realize that really there are people that are left behind. And we have to do something about it. Education is not quality education, not just education. Quality education it's not accessible. we have to be honest. Quality education is not accessible in Nigeria, in Africa, and in most places across the world. And that is why I have decided to put this ambitious solution together. And I translated the letter MUG to 7 languages now. English is in English. We have Chinese, we have Portuguese, we have Swahili,
wow.
and then Spanish, and then what other language again?
I'm sure that there are many other languages.
Yes, and the reason why I do that is because it should be accessible to every girl child in the continent, wherever she is, whoever she may be, anywhere in the world.
Now, you mentioned some of the challenges that the girl child faces. One of them, of course, is COVID-19 pandemic. What we did see from the COVID-19 pandemic would be that there was a decline in the number of girls that, attended school. Absolutely. It affected education immensely. Another factor we've seen would be early marriages. There are more and more early marriages, and then there's banditry as well. So less people. We had the Chibok girls. We cannot forget what happened to the Chibok girls, and there are still some children. Leah Sharibu is still in captivity. There are still some girls that are in captivity. From your personal experience, and I know you've worked with several NGOs, I'm hoping you'll be able to share with us your work in that regard. What would you say are some of the immediate factors that affect the education of the girl child?
I would say that our education needs to be transformed. The education for the girl child needs to be transformed. And in the sense that we now realize that traditional education is no longer enough. It is no longer. The world has changed because of COVID-19 pandemic, and the world of work has changed. Therefore, the way we view education cannot be the same. I remember vividly last year during the United Nations General Assembly, when the Secretary General mentioned that we cannot continue to do the old things faster or even quicker and expecting change. Doing old things faster and quicker does not solve the problem. The education situation across the world, and he was speaking to world leaders, it has to be transformed. And what are the problems? Number one, we've been used to comparing children with grades. It's wrong. Poor education does not help the girl child. It doesn't help any child in the first instance. Then number two, the problem of teachers in across Africa, let's just say Nigeria, public schools across Nigeria and across Africa, because Africa has pretty much the same problems, right? And the teachers are not well paid. They are underpaid. They are undervalued. Even the teachers need to be valued.
Right.
That's one. And then the funding gap is getting wider and wider. The financing of education it's getting wider.
We haven't actually prioritized it, unfortunately, as much as we should. I'm glad that we have people like you that have served as spokespersons. So please continue the good work you're doing. Don't stop. And we will continue. Even as women, we need to speak up for the younger generation so that they don't have to experience some of the challenges that we have. And it's a smoother and an easier ride. But thank you so much for the work that you do.
Thank you so much.
For the girl child letter mark, hopefully I can get my own girl child letter.
You will get one.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central.
You're welcome.
All right, it's been a very packed 1 hour this morning. Let's share with you a quick recap of the conversations we've had thus far.